Hi, it's Lyle from Made by Marley. Welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to be doing Maximalist. There's a shocker, and I'm going to be adding so many things like molds, remnants of vintage sari, transfers, and a whole load of paint to create something that is overtly patterned. And if you follow along, I'm going to show you how I made this. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the piece. It's my favourite type of furniture to paint. I've had this in my store for about a year. I've been waiting for the right piece to do it on, and today seemed like a good day for a good day. So it's a refractory sort of style piece, kind of similar to an Aircall, and I love Aircalls. It's got two drawers, lovely clean inside, so I won't need to paint any of that. It's all nice. The inside has fared much better than the outside. The outside's got quite a few it's got a bit of damage on the top, which I'm going to get Martin to take outside and sand the top off. I'm going to have a natural wood top on this one this week. Quite a lot of water damage, but apart from that, pretty good nick. So once it's been sanded, the top's been sanded and Martin's brought it back in, what I'm just going to run through what I'm going to do, because you'll see it when you see it kind of thing, is I've got some original white paint here. And I am literally going to paint into here and along these bands, in these little dots here, because what I'm planning to do today is I bought these off eBay. Some of them are just sari remnants and some of them are vintage sari remnants, and they were sent from over from India, and they came pretty quickly. However, you don't need sari remnants to be able to do this. Just any sort of clothing fabric, the thinner, probably the better. You know, a thicker upholstery fabric, yes, you could do it, but your transition joins are going to be more tricky to meet with that, whereas a thinner fabric, so like you could go to the charity shop and pick up a couple of nice blouses that you like the colour and pattern on. So, and today is all about using patterns, so and colour. So I've got these, but some of them, because it's sari, they're see-through. So think about, like, you know, when you use tissue paper to decoupage, the fabric is thin, so you can see my hand through that. So by painting the back white, when we apply the sari, you're going to be able, it's going to pop more, and you're going to see more of the detail, just like you would when you're using a thin decoupage paper. So I'm just going to put the white on where I want this to go, and it's a bit of a boring task, so I'm not going to make you endure watching that, and our videos can be long enough as it is. So I'm going to go get Martin to sand the top, and that's unusual for me as well, because I don't generally sand things, but I think the wood, the sealer has been damaged. It's not very nice, but I kind of test sanded a little bit over in the corner, and I think it's going to come up really nice. And I think the dark wood will offset the colour. So that's what's going to happen. So I'm just using Annie Sloan's old white, not original white, beg your pardon, old white. Any white will do. And we can have a ooh and ah and look at all these beautiful scraps of fabric in a minute, because there are some really nice ones. Martin and I were like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Well, I was, and Martin's going, but you get the gist. Anyway, we'll go and get that done. Okay, top has been sanded. We'll get to that later. Where I want to apply the sari has been painted. Don't worry if you've done too much white and you don't end up putting sari on it. It's better to have something in the background. However, don't go crazy with paint if you want to add molds, because molds work better on the actual surface. Now, before I get to these parts, I just want to quickly show you, I bought myself a new mold. I'm really, really giddy about it. It is called Tassel Fringe. This is what it makes. It's a redesign by Prima product, and it's a CC restyled. So if you've ever seen any CC stuff, you'll know what you're going to get. So this is what it looks like. Yeah. I did mine in resin only because I was a little bit skeptical that it might drive me crazy putting clay in here. Plus, I wanted to move the project on a little bit quicker, but normally I would just use clay. So it does this one, this one, this one, and this one. That is the set there. That's what it makes. It has a half on each of these sides, but I cut them off. I didn't want them. So this is what you get. Now I'll put this back under here because I've got these all where they should be right now. I think that one goes under there. Right. let's just talk about where I'm going to apply here, and let's try and get on with this reasonably quick for me. I've put some glue in my piping bag just so I can get the job done quicker. This tassel-y one is going to go down this edge. So really, I want it to be mostly on the end dot because there's a gap. The end of here, this part here, and the dot. But I do want it up in here as well. And you can see I'm not doing my usual. I'm applying a heap of glue because I really want this to stay on. So making sure that you get all these little footery edges at the end. Footery, there you go. There's a nice Scottish word, footery. I'm just going to try and grab this like this. And now, if you are unclear on moulds, I have a Moulds 101 video, you'll get it up here, but that's done with clay. But if you look at a piece I did recently, was it done with resin, Martin, or clay? I can't remember. I have videos. All I'm saying is you have to go away and have a wee good shimmy around my whole YouTube channel, and you'll see plenty of moulds. Now I'm going to have to come in with a paintbrush, a wet paintbrush, and tidy all my glue up because I don't want that making a mess. But this is going to straddle across here like this. Now you can see see all this here, you have to go back and clean it up. How do I clean it up? I clean it up like this. I just take a paintbrush and some water. You don't want it soaking, and you just kind of brush all of that away before it dries because you don't want that to kind of make your mould look untidy. So just like that, that's how you just clean it up, just to make sure that it's nice and clean. Now I am going to be applying this, don't want glue in there, all the way down to the bottom. This pattern here is going to go all the way down to the bottom, like so. I think there was a little bit of pink on that brush. It's making it look a little bit pink, not to worry. Right, so this, you can imagine this going all the way down here. The next one I'm going to use is this one here. And let's just do this. I am determined in my head today that we do not have the same scenario that it's 3 hours later and I'm still we're still filming. Not that I'm rushing through it, it's just that there's quite a lot to wrap your head around on this piece, I think. So it's just to make sure you get it right to the edges. Right to the edges.
Yeah. We have a bad habit, don't we, of our videos running on quite a while.
I know, we do. And I know I'm teaching you things, but sometimes I'm teaching you the same things repeatedly. And if you're new to my channel today and you came kind of join the colour and pattern revolution, then please just go back and look at some of my other videos, because I feel like at this point in time I am kind of walking through it. So this is going to go across here, and I'm going to apply another one onto here. Now I'm going to fill these little parts here with paper clay, and we'll get back to that, so don't worry. So I'll just do another one just so you know. Quickly. I'm quite excited about this piece. I said to Matt, oh, I'm really excited. I think this is going to be a really good one. But then I looked at him across the table and went, well, maybe not.
I think she was excited before she started pouring all the moulds over and over again.
Oh, well, yeah, then I was not so excited, to be honest with you. Let's just pop that one in here and line it up. Now, I don't want it too high because it's the top of my drawer. So, and I'll get some paper clay and I'll just kind of put a little bit in there for the join of that. Again, my paintbrush. It's just, I wouldn't do it as wet a brush if it was clay. This is just because it's resin and I know it's not going underneath. So I just want to tie that. And I've got the little bit, and all I need to do is get a knife and get a knife, and I'll cut that to this edge here, so that I might actually, just for the sake of argument today, I don't normally need tape with my glue, but I want to make sure, in fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shove that along a bit so that that's, I don't want to have anything popping off. So I'm going to do the same here with the same pattern on this part here. So you can see there's a jut in there. So if I was you, I would just line it thick in the middle, thinner at the edges, and squeeze it on. In fact, I'll just show you in practice and then you get it. So I'm going to go down with a big thick line down the centre because that's going to be in that gap. And then I'm just going to take my glue, and you can see I'm really getting right to the edges, but also I'm putting plenty on because these things are slightly risky if you do not put enough glue on it, especially when it's going into something that's concave. Is that concave, Martin?
Yes.
Yes. There. Now, again, just tidy it up, and I'm just going to slip that one along a bit as well, just because of this drawer. Now I'm going to get a bit of glue, bit of tape, and just tape that one off. So you're getting to understand. Today's video is about pattern and colour and the fear we have in using it. And I think we should all just do us. And if you're already a subscriber to this channel, then I think you already enjoy pattern and colour. If you're thinking about subscribing, you can, if you think, oh, I'm not quite there yet, what you can do is you can use muted tones. You don't need to go so much. When you think of pattern, you can think of flat pattern like this pattern. But this is also textural pattern. So not only are we putting pattern here with our fabric, but we're putting pattern here with our molds. And then we're going to add more pattern and colour with the colour. So it's really about, today is about the fear that we have of using pattern and colour. Now, there we go. That's what I'm going to do. So this is going to be simulated on the other side with this like this. I'm not going to add any more. I left these parts here bare because I was unsure about that. But as far as I'm concerned right now, I think when that goes down there and this, that might be enough. The extra ones that I cast, which are these bad boys here, these ones here are going to go on the side panels. I picked up two of the same. So they were the remainders of the set. I used a 2-part casting epoxy resin, quick dry. This is the kind I use. It's called Polycraft SG2000 PU casting resin. It's
SG2000. If you're in the UK anyway, SG2000 is the thing to search for online. It's a universal chemical name for it.
It's a lot better value than amazing casting resin. The only thing I will say about this resin as opposed to amazing casting resin, amazing casting resin isn't as brittle. This one can be slightly brittle, but once it's on and glued on. It's not going to be brittle then. It's more brittle when you're wanting to cut it. So I would suggest when you're wanting to cut a piece for here, I would use something with a serrated edge to cut it from behind, not from the front, from behind. And then just ease through it and then give it a little bit of sandpaper. With amazing casting resin, sometimes if you get it quick enough, you can cut it with scissors. I wouldn't be doing that with this. So that's what we're going to do. Now, next exciting part. Man, you're on my beautiful fabrics with your big feet.
Sorry.
Now, what I did, I like how I've got my coffee in amongst all of this mess. It's not a mess to me. What did I do for these sections here? I got a piece of paper and I put my glasses on. That might help. And what I did was, imagine you are sizing your sort of dry fit and decoupage paper. I did this to get my template, top and bottom, which ended up with, this is the bottom one here that fits in here. And my other template has been pinned to the back of my fabric. So this is my top square for here. I did it this way because I thought it was probably going to give me a sort of nicer fit, and I didn't want it to overcomplicate it, but I also didn't want to waste too much of the fabric, because as far as I'm concerned, this is all quite precious. I'm going to have to lose this little part here. There we go. So I made my templates and I've done the 4. What I'm going to do, just so you know, is that I'm going to work with this side with you guys, and I'm going to complete that side off camera so that I've got the 2 to compare with. Now, I picked different fabrics. There's my little pin pot. For each one of my apertures, and I think I'm going to be putting some fabric down here and there. But let's start with the main ones. How did I pick them? Well, as I said, you don't have to have sari fabric. Any sort of dressmaking fabric or that kind of thing will work. But I kind of did something like this. I kind of picked up all of these ones here because these are the sort of orangey ready ones that I wanted to use. Yeah. And then what I did was I thought that one might be quite nice in that mix. Then I kind of separated them into blues and greens. And I thought, what am I going for? Am I going to blue for greens or am I going for this? And then I had a pile left over and I had some pails. I even managed to do myself a sort of kind of pail pile, which I thought for those that are kind of not too much into pattern, so much into colour, you could do it still with a pail set. But this is the set I'm going for. And what was left over is some burgundies and purples, which I'll do. If this turns out to be something that I'm really in love with, then look out.
You'll be seeing it again.
There'll be more. Some of there were two different sets. Now this wasn't expensive at all. It was a, if I'm honest, it was a mistake buy. I had been looking at it and I had sillily put it in my eBay basket, and before I knew it, Martin bought it also. But it wasn't expensive. I think it was something like £12 for so many patches, so many sort of squares of it. Some of the vintage ones have the border around the edge. And I thought I could utilise that. I thought I could cut that off and use it for parts like here, but we'll see how we go. But anyway, so you've got your 4 squares, that's them here. And I think this was one of my top ones. No, this is a bottom one. So I'm applying it with just ordinary, that's ordinary Mod Podge for the bottom, for the application. And I'm going to water down some fabric Mod Podge for sealing, but I want to get it on first. Now, it's just the same process as decoupage. You don't want it lumpy and bumpy. Now, and I've went and done my wrong. I did the wrong one, Martin. Just check this one and this one. I cut them out previously, but you know what I'm like. I'll probably try and fit the wrong one in
Those
the
are the bottom ones.
Yeah, they're right. Is this the top one, Martin?
Mm-hmm.
Is it? Let's just see. I went to Great Lengths to try and get it right. Now. Oh, I went quiet and concentrated. I don't want it too lumpy, so pull that down if you think you've got some lumps in your fabric. And don't oversaturate it, just a little bit, just to seal it in. Right? That's square 1 done. There's a little wrinkle down there. Let's just pull that down. It's quite easy to work with, so, but as I said, any thin fabric. Now, this one here is this one. Whoop. And the reason why I just painted it, as I explained before, white underneath was just in case, because it's some of this is silk and it's very see-through, and that's some of it's sort of chiffony material, and you want to give it its best hope of kind of nice and bright and showing up. We'll pull that over a bit. Hang on a minute. Oh, come on. Yeah. I think this one here's a little bit big. Let's see if we can smooth it out. I think it may have been the cutter, the person who cut these up. Try again. I don't feel nervous right now because you just saw me apply one perfectly, so I'm kind of like, I'm living my best life here. This should be, my paintbrush should hopefully be able to get me my wrinkles out. Don't worry about these parts because there's more going to be happening to this. This is just the starter for 10. This is us just getting out starting gates.
Yeah, never worry about that sort of thing. There's many more layers to come.
I want to just do something like this though, because obviously I went a little bit off there. Whoop. You probably just be basically best even for making sure that it's all down and adhered. If you were doing over a lip, like say it was a drawer, just let it run over and sand the edges like you would do to decoupage paper. But if you've got kind of recesses like I've got, well, this is what I had to do. I'll do one more. There we go. Look at that. Even with a pattern, but the fabric is so thin that it was, to be honest with you, it's quite hard to cut out as well. You just take your time. There we go. Right. And one more, and then I promise I'm going to go away, glue the rest of my moulds on. I'm going to get the fabric onto this, and I'll probably do these parts on that one so that I can come back and go, right, this is what I'm doing. Right, last one. I thought that had appearance like it wrinkled, but it hasn't. It should go on nice. Try and get a straighter edge for here. So if you didn't have any apertures and it was just smooth, that's okay. You can still apply it because you would just carry on your transitions beside it, if you know what I mean. But I'll show you when we get into it a bit more. This one is a really thin piece of fabric. So you're just going to have to work with it until you get all your wrinkles out. Keep pulling it down. I think it's worth maybe just taking a little bit of time to make sure it's not wrinkly. There we go. Cut these off. Cut any free parts off and then make sure you apply enough glue. Right, so happy days. So that's 4 on. I'm going to go away and put the moulds on, and then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of get this sort of the flat parts of this, so not these parts, but this white, where I've predominantly put the white paint, something like this, and do a sort of patchwork, cut it so that we can fill these. But we'll get the moulds on because I would really want these to get on and get dried, and do the decoupage with the fabric on those cupboards, and we'll black in a minute. Okay, so I put the rest of the moulds on. I put tape on these ones here just to make sure that they're really, really secure, because these are drawers and I do not want any problems with the drawers. I still need to fill it in these little tiny gaps with some paper clay. You saw me do these 4, and all I've done is I'm now cutting out strips. Now, what I want you to think about at this stage is literally a patchwork quilt. So I'm just going to remove some of this tape here. Just so that I can put my moulds down here. The handles, what I did for the handles was I had a bit of this left over, just took 2 of these, snapped them, filed them, put them on upside down like that. But you'll need to kind of file some of these little bits away just if you've got this particular mould, which I'm really glad I got because it's a good one. I like it. Right, so today is about pattern and colour. My golden rule, and it's one that I live by, is you do you. I think that pattern and colour, let's use it. I don't think people should be scared of using a lot of pattern and a lot of colour. Let's face it, we can't be the only people in the world who like it and can embrace it. And a lot of pattern and a lot of colour isn't gaudy. It's not too much. It's not anything. It's just that some people like understated and muted, and other people like a riot of colour and pattern. But you can apply your colour and pattern whatever way you want, whatever works for you, because I have built a business on using pattern and colour, and if it was just me that liked it, then that would be it. But that's not true, and you just need to kind of like go in the Made by Marley decoupage group to find that people embrace pattern and colour. And there's so many people out there who say to me, I'm feeling braver now, I'm using colour, you've made me feel like I can do this. Colour and pattern, whatever way you want to apply it. And this is just the beginning, because once I've got all these parts on, I'm going to do some stenciling and all sorts of things on this. But what I did next was I cut up some scraps, okay? And just in the same way that I put the fabric in the apertures, I'm not even cutting them straight, because I'm going to be doing up to the transitions and doing things in between here. So I was kind of, I was just living my best life, if I'm honest. I've been out here because I've done the other side, you see. So I was just kind of doing my own thing while Martin was unblocking the toilet. What was the shower?
I didn't need to know that.
My daughter's got really long hair. The shower was blocked.
She's always blocking it.
And it was, I think it was quite a lot of hair. But yeah, and Martin seems quite pleased with himself, because he just came downstairs and went, I've unblocked
I'm
it.
sick of doing it, so I've bought myself a really good new tool. And it did it a treat. Should have bought it years ago.
Was that oversharing, Martin? Do you know, he's had a bit of a moment.
Teenage girls in showers.
He's had a bit of a day. I went out for a walk this morning on my year of health, and off I trotted, and I got back to the house, and I'd put Martin's kind of work jacket on, and I forgot Matt's work jacket. When you put something in the pocket, there's a hole and it goes all the way through. And I changed my music on my phone and fiddled around with my earphones at some point away down the fields. And I needed my glasses to do that. I got back up to the house and I said to Martin, I can't find my glasses. And he went, oh, right, okay, I'll come and help you look. Because there's no point in sending a woman who can't see to find her glasses. So he already had to come down and do that. The year of health has been quite entertaining so far. All I'll say is my first day of hula hooping, which was Monday, just about put me in traction for Tuesday. I could hardly walk on the Tuesday, and I was feeling quite giddy. I thought, I used to be quite fit. 15 minutes of hula hooping is nothing. 3 minutes in, I thought, oh no, I just don't know if I can do this. But I was to try and save face, because Martin knew how long I was going to be doing it. I tried my best, but I got to 7 minutes. And to be honest with you, I thought, right, I'm just going to do it, break it into gently. So, but it's gone okay, the year of health. And Martin is obviously, with his birthday this week, has been very giddy with the year of cake. And he got so many birthday wishes. So for everybody that thanked it and said happy birthday, I'm sure he's very grateful. So when I'm applying this, I'm just making sure that there's no like, you can see how smooth it is. And this is going to help us when we get to do transitions, because I'll probably do one over that little break there. I'm not going to worry about things like this. I want to do these parts here. And at this point in time, you can just have fun and use whatever you like. And you'll see in a minute, this side and my other side don't match. There's some kind of like similarities, but they're not the same. This part here, this little groove in the furniture, because this is silk and it's so thin, literally, it just fits in. I'm just going to do this a minute, because this has to make sure that it's really, really sandwiched down onto the furniture. Don't want wrinkles. Hang on a minute. You just have to take your time with this part. I'm kind of use your brush as a sort of smoothie outy tool. That's not exactly. There's some threads on this. And just tuck that in there like that. And then make sure you've done your sort of groove. There. That part. What I did for the centres was I cut the sort of gold part off the edge of the saree, and I'm going to put this down the middle here. So just, I mean, this is the thing that I keep saying. If you're not having fun, what's the point? So all I've been doing really since Martin's been unblocking the shower is just fiddling around with this and just having fun, because this is what it's all about, I think. And I think that when I sell a piece and it's a fun piece that I know I had fun doing it, it gives me great satisfaction. Great satisfaction, Martin. There we go. Make sure these parts here, especially going up onto the door, they're the parts that are more likely to kind of like
with time wear off. So take them right up under if you can, or up right over. The one on the other side's got it right up over. Now, this is a kind of wrinkly piece of sari, so let's just kind of make sure that it's in and it's in for good. Yeah. Now, I'm going to do the same down here. I'll use this green part this time. Just roughly measure it off. You can see what I'm doing. I'm literally making a patchwork quilt out of sari, and the sari material is as thin as tissue paper, which means that it's going in all of the areas. I can push it down nice and flat. It's going on relatively wrinkle free.
You're loving it, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm liking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can always tell when you're enjoying a project.
Sometimes labouring can go on and on and on. I think, oh, but when it's something like this, I'm quite happy. And I think the result at the end is going to be quite nice. Now, I'm going to do my initial colour to go in between the transitions is going to be, I'm just going to cut that a little bit. It's going to be a sort of orangey peach. But that's just the beginning colour. That's just to kind of bring it all to one tone before we go there. See how nice that is now? It's just gone in there better. Right, so that's in there. Oh, one last part, which is down here. I'll do this on camera because you've not seen that much of me doing this. And then I'll get Martin to kind of pan back and show you how the other door looks. Now I understand it looks a little bit unusual at the moment, but you wait and see once. If you've not done anything like this before, all the transitions are the pieces between, all the blank pieces between the decoupage paper and the fabric. So all of this, and when that all runs up beside it, I'll show you that in a minute. Same with decoupage paper. Why am I kind of talking about colour and pattern today? It's because it's really to do with the decoupage. And if you're new to my channel, if you don't know, Martin and I have a decoupage company called Made by Marley Magic. It's really bright, it's really patterned, and it's really fun. And it's that way because when I first started, I used to use everybody's decoupage paper, but none of them was what I wanted. I wanted bright, patterned, in your face, lovely stuff that would make my work pop. And I couldn't find it. So and that sounds awful big-headed, doesn't it, Mary? But all I'm trying to say is
you'd already used all the designs that worked for you and your design concepts. You already used all the decoupage paper that was available from elsewhere.
And the rest wasn't my kind of type.
Yeah. So one day we just said, well, why don't we do it ourselves?
But the thing with building a brand, and I think this is what kind of started making me think about colour. The thing about building a brand is a little bit like, how do you get people who are scared of colour to embrace colour and work with colour? And I thought, well, I know exactly the way to do it. Vintage saris has got to be a winner. I mean, you think I might have used my own decoupage paper, but I thought, no, I thought this will be good. Now I'm just having fun now.
Do you know what? It's another one of those, like, I'm sorry to sound like a cliche, but it's another one of those like happy little accidents, isn't it? Because like you said earlier, you put those things in a basket, and I did what I do. Like I see things that you put in a basket and think, you must want that. I'll buy it, and then it arrives, and you go, oh, I didn't know you ordered that. I didn't know if I wanted that. But now I've got it.
What he doesn't realise is what I'm doing is I'm just kind of giving myself a little bit of dopamine hit. I'm putting things in a basket which I have no intentions of buying, but I just know it makes me happy putting it there. So I do that sometimes. But then Martin, who is kind of the buyer for the business, sees something like that and thinks it's business related, thinks I want it and buys it. So quite a lot of things sometimes arrive and I'm a bit confused at first. I go, why is that here? But that's what happened with the sari. I'd obviously seen it.
And that was one of those ones when they did arrive. Look at that.
I was incredibly giddy.
Because there was loads of it.
Yeah.
Loads.
And as I said, I thought it was quite good value as well. And it's going on nice. As my mum would say, it's going on like a ribbon. Now, there you are. Now, this is this part, this stage probably done. I think I might, because I can, I think I might do a strip down the bottom on this part here. So I'll cut some, just what I've got here. I mean, I've got this, like I'll start it off and you'll get an idea. I'm just going to stick this along this bottom part here. But we're getting very quickly to the stage where I can show you the other door. Now, the apertures in the side of the piece of furniture are going to get the same treatment, but they're bigger. They're bigger apertures, so I don't know whether I'm going to try and do a patchwork quilt within each section or whether I'll find pieces of sari that are that big. Right, so I'm just going to do lots of different parts along here, pulling into my design. So, Marty, could you show them this side? The lovely Martin. Yeah, it's kind of more in context now. Now, this is my transition paint here. I tried it on this side because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this, over the top of this with another colour in a sort of distressed, maybe with a palette knife, and then I'm going to stencil. Oh, I'm actually quite excited. Then I'm going to stencil over the top of that, maybe in gold, because there's gold in the sari and things. So how did I make my colour? It is purely just Barcelona orange and Emperor's Silk. Heavier with the Emperor's Silk than it is. I've got too big a brush to be doing this actually, people, but we'll see. So I don't mind, you know, like touch it up against the fabric. It's fine. Don't worry about that. And you're just gonna go around. I need to find a better brush in a minute, but you're just gonna go around, see all of those like gaps, and you're gonna start painting them in with the peach. Right up to the fabric. I'm going to need a smaller brush. I'll do where I can right now. Sorry, Matt, it's a really awkward piece. I know, I could do down here right now because there's a big patch. I need to go and get a smaller brush to do this, but this is what the sort of plan is, to paint all of it in peach. And then I'm going to come back again and we'll move on again. I don't know whether I'm kind of considering whether I'm going to show, I want to put something down this middle one so I can do down the side so that you can have a better idea of how, can you see suddenly how, you might not think it, but I can see how it's suddenly coming together. I'm just going to take this up to you just now because I'm going to put something in the middle. The drawers straight out the traps are all going. I was going to put fabric here and here, but I'm not now. I decided that I didn't think that that was. So with the likes of up in here, I'm just going to make sure that all of it is painted. And the drawers and everything are going to need 2 coats. So we're just going to work now, making this all cohesive. It all work together. When I start adding more to this, you'll suddenly realise that it looks less like a patchwork quilt and all irregular and doesn't really work, and suddenly it does work better. I'm going to be doing my moulds this colour as well because we'll bring these back a different colour as we move on, but just for the sake of argument, and you can see me doing this, I'm just going to do it now just so you can see. Remember, when you paint moulds, side to side, upside down, making sure that you've got all your white bits painted, because there's nothing worse than getting halfway through a project and realising that you've got, and I'm going to have to take the time to make sure that I can do this properly. But yeah, I think I'm giving you enough sort of peach on it to kind of, for you to get this sort of, for you to get the idea. As you go along, check your fabric. If there's any parts that you think are a little bit loose, re-glue them. And then once you've painted, I would probably check them again. I'll be checking all the way at the end that everything is definitely down. It will be getting sealed as well, the fabric at the end. So, but I'm hoping that that kind of gives us an idea of where we're going. Okay. Okay, so late last night I filled in the background on the front with the peach, but I just want to quickly show you what I'm doing with the sides. The sides, because I've got this mould here and this is the back of the piece, I felt like this was the kind of like the back. So I ran this mould down this side here. And I've roughly, not so much with a template for these shapes, I've roughly cut out this sort of sizing that I need for here, because I want a little bit, I've done some of them slightly smaller because I want a little bit of the peach distress coming into the edges. Well, I want the peach coming in the edges, then some distress over the top of this. So just roughly I've cut out the shapes. I had one perfect there a minute ago. Was it this one? Yeah. So literally I'm just repeating the steps that I did on the front. I'm just making sure that my fabric is down, it's nice, there's no wrinkles, and that just takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to get on and do that. And when I have done this, I'm going to be painting. I'm doing each one of these apertures different, like I did the front. What I'm going to be doing is I am going to be painting round here with the peach colour that I mixed up yesterday, this one here. Oops, there's something in there I need to fix. And that's what the front looks like currently. So we're going to be getting on to doing all of that once I've done both sides. So same deal on both sides, running the mold down this side, not this side, the back of the piece, and filling with the apertures, painting it peach. And then we'll get to start pulling this whole thing together. Okay, so all the parts that have the peachy sort of colour have only had one coat, so you can see parts where the brown is showing through. That is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that look. What I'm going to do now is, and I've kind of started it here, is using the palette I've got down here, which is Tilton Yellow and Orange to get me a sort of mustard, orange on its own, Empress Silk, which is red, Capri Pink, which is just on its own, and then over here I've got some Capri Pink and a little bit of old white, original white to make a pink, because the colours I'm hoping to put over the top are going to be something like Abyssine Blue and Florence, something like that over the top when it comes to the details. So I'm keeping the sort of blendy, sort of distress, sort of irregular painting, the same kind of, all from the same sort of family kind of thing. Now what am I using? I'm using a roller, and I'm using one of these rubberized scrapey brushes. Really, probably maybe a palette knife, but I thought a palette knife is going to be kind of awkward to get into all of these little parts. And really what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort of kind of alternate sort of colours here and there, because I'm bringing out all of the colours that are in this. I know there's like the greens and stuff and the darker, the sort of turquoises, but they will come later. Can you see there, I made a little bit of a faux pas and my paint spilled on it, so I'm going to get back to that, but at the moment I always like to pick out all the things that go wrong, because then that way you understand that when your stuff goes wrong, it's not the end of the world. So kind of just kind of jumping around, kind of putting sort of pinks here and there first. Let's kind of do that. Sorry, Matt. And Matt asked me before I started filming, where will you be? And I said, oh, just here. Back in the red now. So I'm going to bring out some red, and I'm not cleaning my scrapey brush. And why am I putting on with the scraper? Because it's going to add to the background, if you know what I mean. It's going to add to the sort of Indian sort of kind of vibe that I've got kind of going on. You've seen me do this before, but with palette knives, or I've got a roller as well, but I thought this might be quite good to get in to some of the sort of colours that I want to add into it. And it's a good way of putting it on, because it doesn't bring it solid, which means you're still working with your start colour. So you've still got your sort of your peach on it. And I'm just going to do everywhere where I've got the peach paint, really. And you're just kind of alternating it to what you think is going to look quite nice. I mean, sometimes you might want a little bit more pink, then maybe over here you might want a little bit more red. I am leaving the molds just now. Handles as well, you want to kind of really, I'm going to try some of the yellowy sort of colour here. Put some of that down in there, so that you've got that whole sort of kind of every sort of colour that you can kind of throw at it, really. I mean, your choices are not limited for colour when it comes to
the colours that we've put on this, and this is just setting the scene for what's going to go over the top of it. And I'm going to go over to the stable shortly and have a mooch around over there. I've still got most of my stamps and stencils and things over there right now, so I'm working with a kind of limited, because I'm in the house until the spring. But it'll soon be spring, and then we'll get back over to the stable, and it'll all be good.
Yeah, and the battle lines will be drawn in terms of, I don't want to go over there because it's too cold, and she wants to go over there.
And how long are you going to be over there? 5 years later, I appear. It's harder to get me to come out of the stable than it is when I'm in the boot room, because you can just come out and go, right, I think you've done enough today. Whereas, I think I'm kind of giving you what you need to know. I mean, it's sort of just that sort of put it on, and different directions as well. So, I mean, you might want to put some going this way, because the direction of the flow will make it look like it's going this way, but you might want some of it to go up and down. Changing your colours is really important as well, because that way it's kind of like, it's not all one colour. But you can do something like, say you wanted one large section, for example, if you wanted up here to be more predominantly sort of working on the reds. And I mean, I think I've got orange on my palette knife here, so say you wanted to do along here more orange, bigger parts with the roller are good. So let's dip into the pink and do a large section of that with the pink. It doesn't matter if you're going up onto the edges of your fabric. In fact, I encourage that kind of thing. So say you wanted to frame out this piece here and give it kind of almost a little sort of border, then do that like that. So I'm going all the way along with the pink, but then down underneath here I want to do my frame out with my red. So you're just kind of using your colours, framing it out, mixing between the two of them, and just putting a sort of distress that you like on it, because this is just the beginning. We're just getting started. I'm going to put some proper sort of orange, just without any mix on there, like that. If you wanted to frame out this part here like it's stopped there, you can do that, like that. See, like it's kind of worn up over your fabric. You're trying now at this stage to pull it together, to make it look like a thing of beauty, as opposed to a thing of, there's a patchwork quilt that hasn't been put together very well. You're always going to get a certain amount of texture, and I don't mind the texture. I think it adds to that worn. I keep saying this all the time, but if you've got time, go away and look at antique Indian furniture. Is just the most amazing thing, and how it's made, and the texture, the colours, the layering. And to do it right, you just have to kind of dig deep and just kind of keep on going, just keep putting it on. And I think that's got a bit too yellowy there, so I'm going to add a little bit of red into there to bring it down to there. And if I wanted to frame this part off here with the red, just bring it down along my fabric. And it doesn't matter that the fabric's a regular shape, you're just kind of doing it like that. So I'm going to do this to the whole piece, because we have to get all of this, because this paint is laid down much thicker, we have to get all this dry before we can go and add any stencils or transfers or inlays or whatever you want to put onto it. So I'm just going to go and do the whole piece with this right now, and then we'll come back and we'll get on to putting the design work in between the transitions. So when I say transitions, I mean this part between this piece of fabric and here. There's colour in the back. We've already eradicated it. It just looks like it's been on behind it, or there's something in front of it, or it's on top of it and that's behind it. But I like to then make something out of this transition here, where there's parts that have just got this. What we're going to do with that. So that's the transition. Same when you're using decoupage paper, from putting your decoupage paper down to painting it. How do you bridge it with? What do you bridge it with? So that's what I say when I mean transitions. Okay, so using a mix of a Boussin Blue and Florence. I'm not quite dry brushing these days, because if I was dry brushing them in, I'd have a much drier brush. I am trying to keep some of the orange, the peachy colour behind, whilst painting these in at the same time. just to kind of get, because I want them to be quite bold, so I'm not kind of sparing on the paint. I'm being quite, but I'm almost just going over the top of them in a sort of dry brushing way. I think I'm explaining myself kind of, like I want them to be bold. So I'm kind of dry brushing them, but I've got a bit more paint on my brush than I would normally have for dry brushing. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So I've done the other side like this as well, and I'm just going to run across the ones up here as well, and the ones at the side. I'm going to get Matt to give you a quick look at the side, because that side has had its paint on. So I'm just kind of doing this part first so that we can understand the colours that we put on next for the details. So literally I'm just going over with these. Whether I'll come back with this sort of colour and add some bits and parts into the piece, I don't know yet. I'm just trying to work that out as I go. Although I've planned this piece for weeks I've planned it. I haven't, sometimes you can only plan so much because you need to see everything work together as you go. So that's all I'm doing now, just some quick dry brushing along these shapes here so that I can get to the point where we start to put the design on the transitions. Okay, so I went over to the stable, came back with tons of stencils and a transfer. Decided in my infinite wisdom that I was going to go for the transfer, but the transfer is a completely different colour tone to what I'm working on. So because I'm trying to teach about colour today and the use of pattern and things, I thought this is so way off that I'm going to use it. So this is what I've got. I got this from the stable. Well, I didn't get it from the stable. I didn't buy it from the stable. I brought it over from the stable. It's called Boho Paisley. It's a redesign by Prima Transfer, and I've got a few bits and pieces of this that I can make it work. So I'm just going to cut this out because I want the shapes for the apertures. Now, I don't want you to go, oh no, that doesn't work at the moment, because it will work as we move forward. But right now I just need to get it on. So I'm going to keep that a bottom part and put it on somewhere else. So I'm thinking my first part is going to be on here. Now, I'm not going to put all of these on. I'm just going to do my train of thought and see where we go from there. I think that's probably smart. I had a few bits that I'd already sort of kind of fiddled around with. I thought this leaf here would be really good for this transition coming. I want it to move as well as have these sections here. So where were the nasty transitions? I need something here to eradicate this from just looking like this, something over the top of here, and just maybe some movement. So I'm thinking there's a white one there that I'm not really that fussed on. I'm wondering if I'll bring this down here. Hang on, I'm just going to cut this little flower off because I've been using the flowers for moving down here. So let's just put this something like that, and we'll find those as we go. Let's get this nice big leaf and put it here. Yeah. Now, will it work on all this texture and in and out and everything? Yeah, of course it will. Just be slow and steady wins the race. And if you're deconstructing a transfer to do this, then just take your time. Now, what I'd thought of peacocks in the middle and a more sort of traditional Indian, but Paisley pattern features so much in Indian work. And I thought, okay, it doesn't work. And the reason why this is over in the stable is because I keep looking at it and I never really do peel enough furniture that I think it might work on. I have seen this transfer in black and it looked amazing, but as soon as I've seen somebody else's work with a colour, I won't do it, because then I'm just taking, I'd like to make it as original as I can. So it's been kind of hanging about for quite some time, actually, if I'm honest. And I thought, do you know what? This is so clashy and so out of it that I thought this will work. Although Martin's reaction was quite interesting. He's cleaning his shed today. He's been really busy, haven't you, Martin?
Yep.
When you put something like this on, don't forget to do something like, where is it? remember you can go over the top of it, so you can pick, say, I don't know, I've got some blue on here right now. And you can do something like a bit of, like it's worn away. So you can do something like that, or what about red? You know, just whatever you think, just to kind of bed it down and suddenly not make it look. I wouldn't recommend sanding on top of the fabric and the Mod Podge because there's quite a lot of grip, and I think if you sand too much, you'll sand in through the fabric. Ask me how I know that one. So yeah, but this sort of mixed media stuff with paint and layers and fabric and everything, as long as each one of your layers is down and down to stay, and as long as you have sealed it in the correct fashion, it'll be absolutely fine. Just put this little bad boy on here. Remember to burnish it in crazy so that it's really on there. Now we need something else to run down the centre. Let me just find something here. I've got some kind of, it's a really nice transfer, this one. It's just, I just couldn't find anything to make it work with. I'll show you it. That's kind of how it looks. I've obviously done something with it at some point, but then put it away, but it might have been just a small, I'm not entirely sure what I've done with it. Man, can you think of anything I've done with it?
I don't think
No.
you have, no.
No, it doesn't ring a bell. So I want a bridge here. It's going into quite a blank transition. So I'm just going to take it and bring it across here. So really what I'm about to do now is apply all my sort of pieces and parts to where I would like them to be. The next shape that I'm going to put in here is I'm sorry I'm jumping about, it's just so that I give you all the info. I just need to check how I cut this one out previously. And I'm using all my parts, so I think I'm going to put this one on here like this. Or I'll put this possibly down the bottom. So it's going to go somewhere like this. Now, how am I going to tie it all together now? I've not got those on yet, but I just, for the sake of just jumping forward, I've got some green on my palette and I have a stamp. My stamp's been sitting for a wee while, so I'm hoping that it's not got too thick. Where do I not like? What I don't like here for a start off, I don't like my transitions here. This is from the Adornment kind of border stamp from IOD, this one. And I'm just going to bring in, I'm going to have to wash this, but I'm going to bring in some of the pattern. And I'm also going to come back with my palette knife and I'm going to do some green so that the green starts to tie in. And before you know it, this will work. Mark, is there any way you could just quickly from the side show them here? This is what I've done so far. So I've got the big shape, the two little ones here and here, the same shape you just showed me applying, some stamping, just a piece of stamping there is enough. Filled in my green, and those little parts that were up the top, these parts here, I'm just cutting those out individually, cutting them straight, and I'm going to put some of them up the top here just for some movement. You can sand up on here because it's on wood, so I can distress these right back. But yeah, it is starting to look busier and busier and busier. And that is, I was looking at some Indian antique door panels, and the look is so similar to this. You have to really concentrate and look behind each layer. So they had a layer of paint, then they had a reel of detail, so that would be my fabric. Then they had everything happening round about it. Then they threw some gold at it. Then it had some green on it. Then it had some white on it. Then it had some pink on it. And that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to really build up a sort of, I mean, okay, it's going to be absolutely 100% unique. There's not going to be another one. But am I having fun? Yeah. So I think it's just a kind of, if you're too scared to do this and you're at home going, I don't know, I'm not convinced with that, then put a stencil in there and just stencil some of your transitions or stamp your transitions, whatever you want. Or Oh, they're falling off now because I haven't rubbed them on. Or if you're not keen on anything like that, just you could get a piece of, you could cut out patterns from decoupage and just fill the parts that you think that you want to give it movement. If you think it's becoming too busy. But today's video is about using colour and pattern, and I don't really think if you take a leaf out of antique Indian furniture and the way that Indians know colour and pattern, then I don't think there is a right and a wrong way. So I'm going to get on and do the pink now and go and wash my stamp out. This has been sitting, and this is not a good thing to do with your stamps. You put them straight into water, but I was continually using them, and then I was kind of fiddling about it. It's still wet, but it's just it's one that you just need to skim over with paint, not saturate it with paint. So I'm going to go and clean that, okay? Okay, when I got Martin to sand the top, I didn't want him to go sanding crazy. I wanted to keep some of the sort of deep down, like darker stain involved, so that when I stained it with my lighter stain, it would still have that sort of irregular, almost distressed look. You can see the difference of what it originally started with, that really heavy, dark, really dark stain. I'm going to get, once this has been stained, I'm going to get some tape and tape this off and do this whole band down here orange, just as a sort of nod to the top. So this is Little Fair's medium oak stain. It's a water stain. It says makes new wood look old, and it's just light, fast, non-toxic, quick drying, and it's got no smell. So whew, that came flooding out of there. I was going to apply it with a brush, but I'm just going to apply it the way I applied my sealer, I think. Now this isn't a very dark stain, so you know it shouldn't make the top too dark, but it should just even out my colour and make my colour really quite nice. I always find with both sealer, this is exactly the same way that I apply my top coat with a sponge. I don't kind of scrub it up and down the way I'm doing this. I'm just trying to do this to get it to settle into the sanded areas. But this is a water-based stain, and I really like it. We've used it for loads of things, Martin, haven't we?
We have.
Yeah.
We discovered it, years ago.
Yeah.
It's just been our go-to
And
stain ever since.
if I'm honest, I don't do a lot of sanding and staining, but see this has been around for a couple of years, so it lasts quite a long time as well. So I always find as well with this, if you think that you need a darker application, then what you can do is you can just come back and do it over again, and it makes it slightly darker. So then it's just a matter of evening out all your strokes. And then back and forward, same way you would apply sealer, back and forward. Make sure your edges, I can't see the camera edge yet, but back and forward. Make sure that you've got no sponge marks in it. And this is exactly the same way as I apply my sealer. And I think that is much nicer than that heavy, yucky, thick black. I was going to get Matt to just sand that. This was originally obviously a dresser, but hasn't got a top. And Martin was going to sand this channel out, and then he said, why don't you paint in there? And I thought, what a smart cookie, what a lovely idea. So that's what I'm going to do. So that's it. This just needs to dry now, and it dries really quickly. But that just has revitalised and just made the wood on the top lovely. So I've done the sides, and the sides have come out really nice. And both sides are kind of there and thereabouts, but now what I'm going to do is, a wee bit of stain went on there. Just check there's nothing sinister under these edges. I think that's looking nice. Gold. This is Guild Lane Gold. I'm going to be doing a gold video soon, testing out lots of golds. What am I going to do with the gold? Like, there's not enough already on this. I am just going to literally, and I'm not rubbing it all over it. I'm not trying to get rid of the blue or any other colours. I'm just literally trying to give it a little bit of zhuzh in the light, depending on what way you're looking at it. Where else am I going to apply it? Maybe some down here. So this is just, like, there's not enough on this piece. This is just you having more fun, I think. I'm going to do something like this around these ones. I'm going to kind of run it into, you can see as well, I'm applying it with my finger. I think that gives me a nicer sort of control. If it was brushed, it would fit into too much of the recesses and then kind of lose its look. So yeah, I'm just kind of put some gold on it. Obviously the balls on the fringes and the tassels, I'm just going to do the same thing. Not too heavy, not covering them, but just kind of giving them a sort of accent over the top, because then we've got the orange with the blue, with the gold on top of that. And that's what I mean about pattern and movement and texture. You can create almost a pattern and the movement with creating the texture. So that's another way to use pattern. I think here's screaming out for a bit more gold there. So I'm just going to go around the whole piece now, adding gold. I am going to leave it overnight. I'm not going to seal it tonight. It's been quite a long day. What I'll do is we'll come back tomorrow and we'll seal it and we'll get it up for staging. So I went on and sealed it, and I just brought, once it was dry, and I just brought it over to the stable for staging. I thought it needed the back wall to show its impressiveness. I didn't paint in the little strip at the top that I said I was going to. I thought it was just, when I'd stained the wood has come up lovely. I thought I would just leave that. It's all been thoroughly sealed, 2 coats of French Chic top coat sealer, and it's done. What did we do? We applied the sari remnants over some white paint so that they had the best chance to, the colour would show. Did a whole load of distressing around it. We added the moulds, the new CC tassel mould, and I put some more moulds at the top. I then went even more in depth into pattern, and I added the transfer on top of that. Maximalism is a thing that is a personal choice thing. I don't buy into everybody's got to like it. They just don't have to. But if you were into colour and pattern, I really don't think there's a right or a wrong way. I think that if you like it, then there'll be somebody out there in the world, if you're selling furniture, who will want to buy it. That's the school of thought I kind of work towards. And also, this piece for me was incredibly fun to do. It was a really nice one. It was fun. It kept me going. It was different things that I could do to it. And I think, I can't say this enough, I think if you want to get into furniture art, I think it should be fun. So that's really it for today. There's nothing more to add. Martin, do you have anything to add today?
No, this really was a good one from start to finish. I enjoyed you watching you do it as well.
Yeah. I think the fear of colour and pattern is okay, because I fear white furniture. So, I think that we have to understand and appreciate. And I think this is the important thing about life, is in all walks and in everything, that everybody's different. And I think that different is good, and different makes the world go round. So if you want to be different and you're thinking of getting into maximalism and you want to throw as much colour, pattern and fun at your furniture, well, this one's a good one to sort of emulate. Anyway, that's it for this week. So if you've enjoyed this video, give us a like, share it, give us a thumbs up, leave me a lovely comment. I answer all of them. I'm still answering all of the comments. And do not forget to subscribe. Our subscriber count is rocketing up again after hitting 7K at Christmas, and so we're moving on again. So if you're watching this for the first time, you think she looks like something maybe something, she looks like somebody that I could follow, right? Just crack on and do it. Push the subscribe button. So Marty and I, the lovely Marty, will see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.